out to Mercedes-Benz USA. They're a sponsor of ours. And then,
Cool.
so is it Cayley?
Yeah, it's basically just pronounced with a K. Yeah, Cayley.
All right. I am the butcher of last names, so I'll do the best I can. All right. And then, so I might steer off this and just kind of wherever we go,
Yeah,
go.
sure.
All right, cool. All right. So welcome to another episode of Bicycle Retail Radio, brought to you by the MBDA. This is Heather Mason. Thank you for listening. If you're a first-time listener, be sure to check out all the previous episodes. Do us a favor and leave a review. It helps members of our industry find our podcast. As always, the MBDA is thankful for our donors and association members. If you'd like to make a donation to the MBDA, you can do so directly on our webpage. Special thanks to Mercedes-Benz USA for their supporting the country's incredible bicycle retails. Oh, I gotta start that over, sorry. As always, the MBDA is thankful to our donors and association members. If you'd like to make a donation to the MBDA, you can do so directly on our webpage. A special thanks to Mercedes-Benz USA for their recent support of the MBDA. The Sprinters are a perfect mobile bicycle repair shop, a showroom, delivery vehicle, or even a race team van. And as a member of the MBDA, your business can take advantage of a special savings up to $4,000 off regular retail purchasing. Plus, there's special financing offers. And we have a MBDA Mercedes-Benz specialist. His name is Ken Winters. He's an amazing, amazing man. And you can reach him directly at 410-340-6114. That's Ken Winters at 410-340-6114. A special thanks again to Mercedes-Benz USA. All right, today's guest is Jeff Cayley. He is owner of Worldwide Cyclery. They have 3 locations in California, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. They employ 40 of the raddest, most talented individuals. And he is very unique in the way that he approaches his retail environment by combining a leading e-com with a brick and mortar bicycle shops, 3 of them. He's an entrepreneur who believes in chasing your passions in life and having fun while doing it, and hopefully making some people happy along the way. He's an impressive guy. We have an impressive backstory, and I can't help but notice what he's doing, and you should too. I'm so happy to have him on the show. So today's takeaway is, at the core of what Jeff and his dedicated team do is that they are redefining what a bicycle shop can be. So without further ado, welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. I am now just thinking about a Mercedes Sprinter van, so hopefully I'm not too lost into that topic in my head.
Yeah, could you tell I got a little lost? I'm actually working with Ken on one for myself. So yeah, how are you, Jeff?
I am doing great. Things are well, and I'm happy and healthy, and so yeah, all good. Can't ask for much more.
It's sort of funny how we met, and I was a little almost nerve-wracked about how today was going to go, because when we first met, a little embarrassing story to our listeners, but I was writing an email to the MBDA members about how bicycle shops, how important it is to have a mission and vision statement. And I Googled bicycle retail mission and vision statement, and your business in the images came up front and center. And I was like, wow, I was just taken back about how cool your website was and how you put it right out there, exactly what makes your shop so unique. And so I sent it out, and then I get an email from you and you're like, hey, it's so cool you used our shop. This is awesome. But maybe you want to tell people who we are. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. So thanks for giving me a pass and being so kind to come on.
No worries. I'm glad the image, made it worthy of going in your long emails, which I read when you send them out. They're very good.
Thank you. Jeff, what I noticed immediately, and all of our listeners should go to your website, which is worldwidecyclery.com, and take a look. But your content, your verbiage, it's not standard bicycle shop. Like your website does not scream standard bicycle shop. It's what I would say, and in your words, a uniquely holistic customer experience. And there's so much there, videos, blogs, content. Talk to me about this. Like, is this the vision of Worldwide Cyclery? Like, how did it come?
Yeah, it kind of was. I mean, from the early years, I always wanted to build, I guess in my brain, what I saw as a quote unquote modern day bike shop. And that to me really did a few things. It's was more focused. So it wasn't just trying to be everything to everyone. And our focus in particular is the high end mountain bike scene. And that's kind of where we niche into because cycling is so complicated these days, and each sort of niche of cycling runs so deep. And in order to really properly serve those customers, I feel like having a more narrow focus is helpful. So yeah, our narrow focus is high end mountain bikes. And then I wanted to do a lot of valuable content, right? It's like, how do we share knowledge with all of the people that are into high end mountain bikes and riding mountain bikes? And so we read a ton of articles. We make a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of educational Instagram stuff. So we're trying to piece together like all of this valuable content with a great online presence and a great in-store presence where we demo high-end mountain bikes. And so, yeah, that to me, I guess, was kind of what I viewed as like more of a modern day bike shop in my head. And that was the vision I had for it in the early years. And it took a decade to sort of get to where it is today. But yeah, it's been a good, fun ride. And yeah, we're certainly still enjoying it.
I live and breathe in the mountain bike world. So I used to be a professional racer. I got up this morning at 4 a.m. and I went and I hit 20 miles in the
Nice.
Catskill clay. It was awesome. I'm driving back and I'm talking to someone on the phone about our interview today. And I'm like, yeah, Worldwide Cyclery, Jeff is coming on. And my buddy, who, he's a good mountain biker, but he's like, oh, I know them. I bought something from them once. And I was like, tell me the backstory. And he's like, well, I was looking at a video on how to do something, educational content that you put out. And next thing he's on your site already. And it made it super convenient for him to just buy what he needed right then and there. So what an interesting small world, but also a testament to what you're doing. But you're a mountain biker too, right, Jeff? That's your background, right?
Yeah, it was. So I mean, I grew up riding BMX and motocross, got into mountain biking when I was about 13 and started racing when I was 14. And I raced pretty competitively all the way until I was 20 and just about tired of breaking bones and stuff because I was doing enduro and downhill predominantly for the racing. And yeah, I loved it. It was good fun, but it's not really a proper way to make much money and stay healthy in terms of bone breakage. So yeah, I eventually decided to and I kind of worked in the industry all throughout that as well. And yeah, that's when I decided I'm going to probably pull back on the racing and open up a shop because I see an opportunity. And yeah, that was when I was 21. So I would open the shop in 2011, just right off the back of a whole bunch of mountain bike racing. And yeah, so that's kind of how I also knew so much about the mountain bike world and the products and all that sort of stuff.
I feel like we could do a whole another podcast on your backstory and how the shop got going and your business plan, because I love that and I'm so into that. But I really think the meat of today's conversation is about everything you're doing that's so uniquely experience driven and really engages the customer and creates what we're looking to do as cyclists for life, right? So you're inspiring fun. But before we go on to my next question, which is about where your locations are and your employees, I want to just touch on this. You said your focus is mostly on high-end mountain bikes. For me, in the bicycle world, I've been, in the industry for 20 plus years. That seems tough for me. Have you ever thought of expanding, or that was always your plan from the get-go? And how has that been?
Yeah, I mean, it really only works because we're predominantly online. I mean, it wouldn't realistically work if we tried to just be brick and mortar only because it's just a narrow focus. Where I grew up and where I still spend most of the time, where our largest retail store is in Newbury Park, California, which is about an hour northwest of LA. And there is a huge mountain bike scene out here. There's a lot of good trails. There's just a lot of mountain bikers and road cyclists, and it's just a populated area of a lot of. There's plenty of affluence out here too that can afford nice bikes. So I don't know. I kind of grew up around the mountain bike scene, and that's what I fell in love with. And that's why when I wanted to open up a shop, like I just wanted to do high end mountain. That's what I liked. That's what I enjoyed. I wasn't, I'd worked at a sort of more traditional brick and mortar bike shop as a kid and a teenager, and I just wasn't I wasn't a fan of, fixing flat tires on beach cruisers. And, it's like, oh, there's like one bike a week that everyone's excited to work on. I was like, well, I kind of just want to have a shop where we just only work on that. So it was kind of a pipe dream as a teenager. But then as I got older, I realized like, actually, if it's a good, healthy online business mixed in with like a really cool experiential retail business, it could kind of actually work. So yeah, that's how we pulled it off and how it really exists. I think, paying retail square footage rent and trying to just focus on one niche of cycling that's not a good business plan by any means.
Yeah, that would be
but
hard.
for us, we're, doing it mostly online, and then kind of just like the retail aspect of it is kind of icing on the cake, where you walk into one of our stores, all you see is high-end mountain bikes. They're all demo bikes. And it's just like high-end mountain bikes and high-end mountain bike related gear. So it's very focused when you walk in the store. And then the curation of the products on the website is as well. But the stores basically exist as icing on the cake to like the e-commerce business.
Yeah. So just because a shop focused on high end mountain bikes hasn't been done before doesn't mean it can't be done, right? We always say like,
Sure.
this is the first time we've done something. That doesn't mean it's scary. It means it's the first time. It means awesome, right? All
Yeah,
right.
it
So
means it could be a huge opportunity for something really
that's
good.
that's what I'm saying. That's the
Yeah.
mindset I have. So all right, we have 3 locations: California, Nevada, Pennsylvania. How did it start though? Did you focus on online first, or talk to me about just how the shop got going, or the
Yeah. So,
shops?
it was always a combination. That was the plan from the beginning. And I think it's good in the bicycle industry that is, I don't know how upheld it is, but for the most part, a lot of the brands and distributors obviously want you to have a real retail store, which I think is a great barrier to entry. So we don't have people hawking bike parts on eBay and Amazon out of their garage, but although that probably still does happen. Anyways, for us, it was meant to be focused, to have, just kind of how it is now, like a boutique retail store, but online as well. And so that's how we started. So we started with just 1,000 square foot small shop here in Newbury Park. And it was myself doing the mechanic work. And then we were just keeping high-end mountain bikes in there and tacked on a few brands that we could offer demo bikes for, that actually were like these more higher end rare mountain bike brands that you couldn't really demo anywhere else. Because so many of the shops were just like, oh, we have Trek or Specialized or Giant or Cannondale. And it's like, well, I want to ride Intense or Da Vinci or Turner. This was back in like 2011, 12,
Right.
13. And like, so for us to have those brands and people to be able to come in and demo them, it was actually something really rare and unique, because there were people who wanted those bikes and wanted something different, wanted to ride something different before they pulled the trigger on it, but they kind of couldn't. So that's what we did from the get-go, and just started with a small retail store, and slowly just ran the retail store while simultaneously building out the online presence of the business. And that's what we just carried on doing, and it grew from there.
I'm thinking, I have so many questions. Yeah, I'm like, okay, who helped you with the website build out? Was that something that was, you were knowledgeable about, or did you have an expert help you?
Yeah, I was relatively knowledgeable about it. Not that much per se. I think I just did a lot of Googling. I didn't go to college. And so a lot of everything I know and learned about business and technology and all of that just came from Googling. But it was also like a passionate interest of mine. I really loved business, and I loved e-commerce, and I loved the scalability of e-commerce. So I just read and learned and dug into that stuff on my free time, because I enjoyed it. And then, so yeah, we started out, years back, we started out actually building a Magento site, and that was a total disaster. Then eventually we switched over to Shopify, and there was a big debate in my head of like, oh, do we do smart e-tailing or Shopify? And at that time, smart e-tailing was like light years behind. So they're in a whole different category now, but so that's why we ended up going with Shopify for the website. And then, a lot of that stuff we did ourselves. And then we dug around and went through various different development firms to help us build the more complicated stuff. I ended up hiring one of my old roommates who worked at a company called BTO Sports, which was the motocross industry they're kind of like a decade or two ahead of the cycling industry when it came to like being online. And he worked at a company, BTO Sports, that's exactly what they did. They had a small motocross retail store, but it was mostly online. So they had a website, and they sold all sorts of motocross gear and parts and accessories and all that online. And so I pulled him, and between him and I, we just hammered out the Shopify site, and and went away with it. So yeah, it took time and work, but yeah, just time, work, and Googling and persistence, and that's business
Your
for you.
your attitude is so like spot on. So just because you weren't familiar with something, you didn't know how to do it, didn't mean that you stopped. It means you pushed harder, and now you have a super successful business that is, majority ecom, and then you have 3 brick and mortars. And Jeff, I know so we've come light years just in this past year with everything that's happened, with our global situation, into accepting more bicycle retailers as a whole now are more accepting of online sales and utilizing the platform a lot more to deliver. But you're also on eBay and Amazon. And I know what you say those 2 words in our industry and it's like, oh my God, all right, freeze. But
yeah.
Talk to me about the decision to do that and how it's been helpful in your retail environment and how maybe other people should consider or not consider it.
Yeah. So that's a tough one. I'm a unique position when it comes to that. So I despise eBay and Amazon. I think they're just annoying thorns in everyone's side when it comes to the bicycle industry. And what I also like the least about them is that they allow, I don't know how to classify these, but there's a lot of bike shops that just sell on eBay and Amazon. They don't have a proper website. They don't have a proper retail store. And they're really just doing price arbitrage on eBay and Amazon. And it's completely unhelpful for the industry as a whole, for us as being in the industry, for the consumers. I really don't like those shops. I think they're just harmful to the industry in general. And for us, like our business, 13% of our revenue comes from eBay and Amazon. So there's still a chunk there. We look at eBay and Amazon as basically acquisition channels. And I know no one from eBay or Amazon will ever listen to this, but I look at that as like a way to steal customers and bring them to our website and bring them to our retail stores. And it's like sell things on there and find a way to like slide a little card, which you're not supposed to do, says the Amazon policy. So I'm breaking the rules. Sue me. Slide a little card in there that says like, hey, thanks for buying from us on eBay or Amazon. Please head to our website. It's a way better experience there, blah, 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 blah. And so like we're looking at it as an acquisition channel. It's like a marketing channel. And that's how I view eBay and Amazon. You can't get any customer data from there. I mean, it's all price focused. I mean, it's just horrible. It's not good for the industry, and shops that exclusively sell on eBay and Amazon, in my opinion, are unsustainable and unhelpful for the industry. So that's a small percentage of our online business is eBay and Amazon. And I look at them as acquisition channels to take them to our website, because our website is where we can actually bring value and have videos and provide content to people and connect with them through email and social and do like all these various other things that like create like a great, holistic, valuable customer experience. So yeah, eBay and Amazon, I mean, that's kind of my opinion there. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of third-party marketplaces, and especially not the shops that exclusively sell there. And a lot of them like to try and like hide and say that, oh no, we have a website, but they don't. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Anyways, that's more shenanigans to talk about. But
I love that answer. And you have to be found, right? It's another spot to interact with customers. It's another spot. It's another opportunity to make those customers your customers for life. So I thank you for that answer, Jeff. That's spot on. But you just talked about your website, which is really what I want to dig into, the content that's on that website. It's just kept me coming back. And when I first, heard about Worldwide Cyclery, I thought you were, in Europe or something. I had no idea, because the presence that you put across on your website, the power of your images and your content is really super impactful. And I have never personally seen it done myself. So I just really want to dig into it. And I stole some words right off your website that I jotted down in my notes that I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the lead title, the head title of one of your web pages, it says that you are redefining, that Worldwide Cyclery is redefining what a bike shop can be. Can you summarize that for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So our About Us page, on the top of it says our mission is simple: redefine what a bike shop can be. And so that's sort of a running mantra internally amongst our staff. And that kind of, it's a bit frou-frou and vague, right? But I mean, the way we look at that is just better customer service, better company culture, better business model, better everything. And so it's sort of a audacious statement to set the tone for what we do internally. in what we do as a company and want to project. And we do want to sort of redefine what a bike shop can be. In our eyes, that's kind of what I described earlier, is how we see the modern day bike shop, of being this like great mix of focused retail environment, focused online catalog, like really capturing this holistic customer experience, really bringing a lot of value to our customers and to the industry as a whole, without really any expectation, right? So, I mean, that goes back to the, we're cranking out blog articles constantly and videos constantly around educational topics and product releases and how to do this, how to do that, product reviews of this. So just, comparisons, right? I mean, like in-depth comparisons of every one of SRAM's drivetrains. Like we do that, and we weigh every single part and like help people decipher what's going on. Cause I think, we as in people listening to this podcast that are deep in the industry, we kind of forget how complicated all this stuff is, and so for a new entrant to the industry, like GX, NX, X01, XX, like that doesn't mean anything to anyone. Right. But it means something to us because we've just been like inundated with those words for forever. But someone coming new into the industry, they have absolutely no clue why GX is less expensive than XX1. Like, why would they? So that's the kind of stuff we try and always put our shoes in the, put ourselves in the shoes of our customers and think like, what do we need to explain? What can we actually bring of value? Like, what do we know as bike nerds that we could actually create a video on and help people with? And so that's what we've done over the years. And it's started out as like just it's like, yeah, it's content marketing, right? It's like, hey, let's create something of great value that benefits people. And hopefully, it's really is like a thankless job in a sense, because it's just like, hopefully they enjoy it and then shop with us. We're not forcing them to, we're not charging for that content. They can watch it and then go buy it somewhere else. And that's fine. That's that. But it's more of just a hopeful thing. It's like, yeah, just put the content and the help out there, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, that's what we've done over the years and amassed a pretty large catalog of various content that hopefully has helped, mountain bikers of all kinds learn more about the complicated mountain bike parts that we all deal with every day.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking as you were mentioning that, Jeff, that we do have all these this past year. I mean, gyms were closed and people were home and they were looking for new places. So, cycling just boomed, and we have all these new people coming into our stores, becoming cyclists, and they have no idea about the maintenance that a bike entails, or even like, how much tire pressure to have. There's so many unknowns. And I'm wondering, like, have you noticed that if you have some basic how-tos, have you noticed this past year that they're being viewed more often because we have these new cyclists?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think, even if you jump into Google Trends and look at the data there, I mean, so many people, if you just pop in terms, so many people have just been Googling just even the term bike shop or how to lube a chain or, bicycle tire pressure. I mean, all of those search queries have just gone through the roof in 2020 because so many more people got bikes or started riding more frequently and started working on their own bikes. And so, yeah, all that stuff has really gone through the roof in terms of content. So luckily we'd spent the better part of the 10 years prior positioning ourselves with that. So when people did go to Google, a lot of that stuff, hopefully they found us. But yeah, that certainly has gone up because there's a lot more people, that are new to the sport and people that are just riding more frequently, which is awesome.
So your website says, and I think you said that you employ the 40 of the raddest individuals, and, right on your website, you have all their images. And the way I'm hearing you talk when I asked you about your mission statement, and, in a minute, we're going to get to the why the shop exists list. You keep referring to like, it's not just you, it's you and your team, which is so heartwarming to hear. And so, I can't wait to talk about that, because there's a lot of, one of the topics that keeps coming up is how we attract people and how we keep our employees, right?
Yeah.
Especially with this extra hours that everyone's working. But okay, so you have this list on your website. So under that mission value statement on the page that I totally pirated the information from when I first met you, you have this list, and it's the whys, the why the shop exists. And the list is exquisite. And for me, with this past year, all these new cyclists we keep talking about, it's up to us now to keep them engaged and keep them active in our sport. And, we've got them the one bike, now they need the additional bike, they need the hardtail to complement their full suspension, or, so I want to talk about this list because this list is, I think, is the meat of where other retailers can learn. You put yourself out there. So one of the things on the list is we are here to support people having fun on bicycles. So I ask you, Jeff, how are you doing this? How are you supporting people having fun? Can you give us some examples that maybe other retailers could use?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so that's our number one of why we exist. And just a little backstory on, so we call them the 7 whys, and it's basically 7 bullet pointed reasons of why our business exists, period. That's, external, of course, it's right on our About Us page, but it's also very much internal. And any new staff that comes on has to memorize that and recite it in front of everyone else. And then they get $20 once they recite it successfully. So that's kind of a very important piece of the puzzle to like who we are and why. I think every business should have some clear reasons of why they actually exist. And this, I didn't just miraculously come up with this. This is from a book, Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Everyone's probably seen him. He's a pretty prolific author and speaker. But his book, Start With Why, really like ingrains this mentality of why businesses need to have a why or some whys. Like they just need to be able to communicate clearly why they exist, because it's helpful for everyone, helpful externally and internally. So that's where this idea came from. And yeah, the number one thing, we're here to support people having fun on bicycles. That's our number one, because that's kind of like what we're doing. I mean, anyone that owns a bike shop or operates a bike shop or works in the bike industry, like that's actually what you're doing. We all ride bikes for fun. And I passionately love the fact that we're in an industry that supports a good, healthy, fun outdoor activity. And I think everyone in our team resonates with that. And just by being in business, by doing the hard work that it takes to, work with customers in the store, or package up orders and ship things out and, deal with customer complaints or various different things, like just operating our business is supporting people having fun on bikes. So that's kind of like the big main one for us.
And this is something we always have to, I try to get this out in my emails, which thank you for reading, but we always have to remember, we wake up and, we love to ride. I love to ride. You love to ride. People listening, I'm sure love to ride. So we have to remember that we are all doing this because we love to ride, and that's our mission. And that's what we need to do, is get more people on bikes and remind them how much they love to ride.
Yeah.
I love the why. And if you're listening and you don't have a why, if you don't have a list of whys, Jeff has 7, but if you don't, you should sit down with a piece of paper after you finish listening to this and make your list of whys. Jeff, you say, we are here because we know how to do bike shop better than it's ever been done before. This is a huge statement.
Yeah, it's we're here because we know we can do bike shop better than it's done before. Slight change there, just to make it clear. Yeah, so that one's there. I mean, it's a bit of a competitive tactic too. Like I think it sets the tone for what we want to do internally. We certainly do not operate a quote unquote typical bike shop by any means. What we're doing is quite unique and different, and we try to focus on larger picture, and we try to solve a lot of the common complaints that sort of everyone has about bike shops in general. That sort of, I walked into a bike shop and I felt very much like an outcast or unwelcomed, or I rolled my comments all in there, which is a consumer direct bike brand, and everyone there kind of like was rude to me because it wasn't the brand that they carry. So like we're trying to crush those problems. We're trying to add a level of humor and humility and kindness to the whole shopping experience for everyone that shops with us, whether that's online or in store. And so to us, that's, I think, bike shops, quote unquote, in general, have these stigmas, and we're trying to crush those. And that's kind of what that statement's about. It's like setting the tone internally that we know we can do bike shop better than it's been done before. And we all know collectively what those stigmas are. And let's make sure we never fall into those traps. And let's make sure we're working hard to, be a way better business that just leaves people walking out the doors or, clicking that checkout button with a smile on their face and like feeling really good about their purchase and having a good customer experience, like holistically. So yeah, that's kind of what that one's there for as well.
So Jeff, I'm thinking, okay, so we all have those best customers, so we, that come into our shop all the time. They're our friends. They've bought 1 or 2 or 3 bikes from us in the past, right? And now maybe they found something online, right? And you don't think that like they're not afraid to bring that bike into you to have you assemble it, right? Like think about it. Like, so what you're saying is because we know we can do bike shop better, because we should all do what we do better, and think of our customers that are now nervous. Maybe your best customer is nervous to come to you because he bought something online. We can do better than that. We can do better than that.
Yeah.
We can, so I'm just thinking in those terms, and we have to welcome everyone in. We have to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I tried to really set that tone amongst our whole team and always keep it like that because, when I was a teenager, worked for a shop that the owner would purposefully guilt trip people if they would come in with stuff that wasn't bought there. And that would just make my blood boil. I just thought it was disrespectful, unnecessary, and a bad business strategy in every sense of the word. So I just never wanted to be like that. And again, I just think that all of that stuff, I don't understand why the stigma there. I mean, people buy things online, people buy things from other people like this. It rolls back to that like scarcity versus abundance mentality. And I think, I've always tried to implement into our shop and our staff, like we have the abundance mentality. It does not matter where people bought it. It does not matter what brand it is. Like they're riders, they're friends. Like let's help them. Let's do right by them and let's run a good business and be respectful to everyone. And absolutely does not matter where you bought anything or whatever. And it's funny enough, we've been asked the question multiple times. People have asked us like, hey, do you feel like people abuse and use all of your content and then go buy elsewhere? And I say, yeah, of course I do. I don't care. Like, we're not making content with this, hey, we made this, so you're going to buy with us now. Like it's not like that. We're just doing the right thing and making content. And if people like it and they think they're cool and they want to shop with us, that's great. If you want to shop somewhere else, that's fine. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think there should be any sort of bad stigmas or, I don't know, annoyances around those topics. So yeah. That's kind of where some of that's come from.
It's bigger than that, right? And that goes to your next one of your whys, which is we are here to impress customers and impress ourselves. And I think we just like wrapped that up, right? Like you're just being an awesome human and asking the best of your customers too, and giving them stuff that impresses. I mean, look at the content on your website. There's so much there. I could spend like hours. I could spend days like binge watching your content. This one is one I would like you to dive into on your whys. We are here to challenge the status quo of the industry. So I actually like Googled status quo just so I had the definition correct, and challenging the existing state. So you're elevating it, right? So give me a little bit of the thinking behind this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, that it kind of rolls back to, what I was just mentioning. So the status quo would be those, those original stigmas of people worried about bringing in something to their local bike shop that they bought online. Those things of feeling, of almost being talked down to, or feel like the people, when they walk into a store or talk to someone online, they feel like the person's being derogatory towards them because they're not as knowledgeable and they're like feeling like they should be more knowledgeable. I mean, so all of those things. So we want to challenge that and just do that better. And what people expect, which is for us, a lot of it does roll back down to customer support. It's our ability to thoroughly and accurately reply to emails. And if you ask us 3 questions in an email, we reply to all 3 questions, not just one. Little things like that might seem commonplace, but they're really not. And there's really stuff that, we're doing from a customer support perspective that is pretty basic, in my opinion, when it's just like getting back to people within 24 hours, actually answering the phone, having someone on the phone who actually knows what they're talking about, who has a desire to see through what your question is and help you find a solution no matter what. Those are the things that we want to make sure we're doing right. And I think the industry is doing a way better job at it now. Maybe not everyone, but especially when we started the store, in 2011, I mean, the online shopping experience, like it definitely existed. There were plenty of big online retailers back in 2011 that were doing just fine in the bike industry, but they had horrendous customer support. They didn't reply to emails on time. They were just a mess. And that, to me, that level of terrible online customer support was an opportunity. And then you've seen companies, for example, if you remember Price Point was a huge online retailer that was pretty well known in the mountain bike and just everywhere, just cycling in general. And now they're gone because they didn't do any of that. They focused on price. They didn't focus on service. And it's kind of like a spitting example of, why you have to focus, why your business has to be customer centric. And that a customer centric business is not the status quo right now. So that's what we're trying to push into.
Do you think it's easier to do that with a mix of online and brick and mortar? Like, do you feel like a shop owner with just a brick and mortar with an online focus, but not as heavy as you are, could make a customer centric business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think no matter what you're doing, what business you're doing, you could make a customer centric business. I mean, the reality is people are everyone is very digital these days. So you do need to be accessible through various communication methods that people like. So you can't really call yourself customer centric if you only take phone calls and you don't reply to emails. Like that's not, people use email. So, and your customers use email. And if they want to communicate with you through email, you better learn how to do that. So there's things like that. And people want to DM you on Instagram or Facebook and, or call you or email you or live chat you. So, I mean, there's various communication methods that you just have to do because your customers prefer them. And so customer centric is really like thinking about what are your customer preferences and then making sure that you're standing up to those. And if there's a lot of customers that have a preference of buying online or buying in store or both, or communicating via various methods, like you need to actually stand up to those because those are your customer preferences, and a customer centric business looks for those customer preferences and make sure that they're standing tall there. I think it's totally possible.
How are we gauging those, Jeff? So are we constantly asking customers how they found you, what the best way that they prefer communication is? Like, how are we knowing what their preferences are?
Yeah, I think so. We do on our checkout, for example, we're asking people how they found us. But for us, I don't think it's that. It's not an elusive thing. Like people use social media, people use email and phone calls and live chat. It's not. we don't need to debate that.
Set up, right? Just get yourself set up, and if you don't know how to do it, hire someone to do it for you.
Yeah, and just it also goes back to just good organization. Like if your business is growing and it's like one or two people using Gmail, that's not sustainable for very long. Then you're going to need something like Zendesk or Help Scout or like an actual customer support management tool where you can have multiple agents. So you have to think of those things and make sure it's scalable, but it's kind of common sense stuff. Somebody sends you an email, they don't expect you to lose it. They expect you to thoroughly answer it and answer it within a timely manner. That's kind of simple. The execution is not always simple because sometimes that's hard, but it's not that complicated to know sort of what customers want these days and how they want to talk to you.
Yeah, it's not just enough to throw up a online store and think now you're in the online business, right? Yeah. You have to definitely invest in it and make sure you're paying attention to when your customers are engaging with you. Mm-hmm. So something totally unique about your site is all the content you put out, and it's constantly updated with new blogs, new videos. So much that I have a friend who told me that you are his media source. Like he comes to you for like what's happening in technology. Do you hear this often? Do you have you must have followers and you can see that, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we now are, we're very much so competitive in the top 5 mountain bike media outlets across North America. And I think really the world. I mean, when you compare us to, even Bike Radar, MTBR, Vital MTB, Pink Bike, we're significantly ahead of many of them when it comes to followers and engagement on various platforms like YouTube and email list size and Instagram engagement and all those various metrics. So we're, and that was intentional. About 5 years ago, I'd really seen this pretty big gap that I didn't really know why it existed, but there was media outlets. Pink Bike, for example, is the biggest one in the mountain bike world, right? And then there was retailers. And there's just like massive gap. Like Pink Bike doesn't sell anything. Retailers don't talk about anything. And I just didn't understand why that existed like that, because retailers, one, people are on Pink Bike already. So like your target market is there. Like they want to see that stuff. But they can't buy it there. And then there's all these retailers, and these retailers have all this data. Like, what are people buying? What's breaking? What's getting warranted a lot?
Right.
What fits what? I mean, retailers have all of this treasure trove of data. And then like they're not sharing it with the media. Like there was just this huge separation between the two. And I really just thought we should just bridge that gap. The way to bridge that gap is to be a world-class retailer and then also be a world-class media outlet. And obviously our focus is mountain bikes. So that's what we did. And we're the only people that have done that. So there's no other actual bicycle shop that has the media presence we do. And then that was very intentional, because I just thought we could just bridge that gap. Like we can create content just as good as Pink Bike in just a timely manner. And then we can also sell it with a great customer experience. So why don't we do that? So that's what we did. And that was just a unique gap that we sort of saw in the industry and thought we could just achieve by just kind of closing that gap and creating great media content. And that is complicated. That's not something that just happened overnight. It was intentional, and it took years to produce. And now we have, 7 staff dedicated to literally just media content. I mean, they're talking to brands all day. They're writing articles, they're shooting and editing videos and photos. And like, that's, our business very much so looks like this hodgepodge of like a large, mountain bike e-commerce retailer, brick and mortar store, customer support staff, and like a whole media outlet. It's all like wrapped up into our 3 shops. So it's a very different org chart than you might imagine in your typical bicycle store.
It's so dynamic, and there's so many moving pieces. And I want to get into the people, the 40 rad employees. And right now the conversation that comes up often is, how do we find good people? And then once we have them, how do we keep them? So talk to me about how you're finding these amazing people for your team, and then how you're keeping them. I can see that you look like, from what I see online, it looks like you're an awesome person to work for. So
yeah, I mean, so that's an interesting piece right there, right? Because what you said is like what you see online. And I think that's where a lot of businesses, small businesses, drop the ball, is they don't really have a brand. People don't really know what it's like to work there, because they don't know who the managers are, who the CEO is, like what that business stands for. They don't know any of that, because businesses don't really make that transparent, and they don't really put themselves out there like that. And I think that's a major issue to bringing talent in. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. When we want to hire, we are always completely and utterly confident we can just pluck people from other bike shops nearby or other industry businesses nearby. I mean, because everyone wants to work here. And that's, we sit on that advantage because people know us. Like our brand is very focused to mountain bikes. It's full of humor. It's full of this like very cool and interesting balance of fun and focus, where it's like, wow, this is an extremely well-established, well-run, very well-reviewed business that's loved by customers, that's growing and doing well. And all that data is there. But yet there's humor and love for bikes and passion for bikes, and this like lifestyle that I can tangibly feel through their content and through their videos and through their Instagram. All of that's out there. So that makes people so attracted to us, because they see it, right? It's like, they actually can see something. Whereas a lot of businesses you look at, and like you'd look at their Instagram or their website, and you can't really get a feel for who are they? Are they funny? Do they love bikes? Do they love road bikes, gravel bikes? Not like you don't really know. So like if you look at your own business through the eyes of someone who has no idea what your business is like, how are they judging you? Do they think you're funny? If so, how and why? Or do they have no idea if you're funny? Do they think you take political stances? Yes or no? Do they think that you, they just don't know anything about you because it's not out there? If they hit your website, like what's your About Us page? Is it a lame paragraph? Does it even exist? Does it really clearly show why you exist and what's so good about working there? I mean, there's all these various things, but for us, it's that like really holistic brand building. It's allowing people, customers alike, and potential prospective employees for them to know who we are, what we stand for, what we do, what this work environment's like, and just putting all of that out there. And that takes time and intentional effort. But it does all start with, a great About Us page. So a prospective employee can look at your About Us page and learn who's there. Who is this? Who is the owner? I want to know who he is. Why did he start the shop? Like, what's, they're curious about that stuff. So yeah, those things matter. And then when it comes to the retention piece, there really is that, mission, vision, and values portion of it, that if people feel like they're working for a business that's, chasing a larger mission that has sound values that resonate with them, and they're treated and respected well, they likely have no reason to leave, and they're very happy and want to stay there, and they're glad they found that career path. And vice versa, if they get into a business and they, soon realize that, the values don't match their personal values, and they didn't know that prior. I mean, that's going to be a huge issue. You're never going to retain an employee that just has a totally different value set than your business exemplifies, or if they feel disrespected. I mean, all those various reasons too. So there's a lot of intentional effort internally on just focusing on your own culture and making sure the people that are working for you know that they're respected and cared for and listened to. So yeah, I mean, that takes time and diligent effort for sure. But a lot of it is just putting it into words and putting it into, very clear way for you to understand it, your staff to understand it, prospective employees to understand it. And then the icing on the cake is that when consumers, if they care and they want to dig into your business, if they see it and they're like, wow, I resonate with this business, I want to shop with them. It's a very brand building-esque sort of mentality, and Patagonia is sort of the pinnacle everyone brings up, right? It's like people know what Patagonia stands for. They know Patagonia's political views. They know Patagonia's views on global, environmentalism, and that's why they resonate with that. Why, or they do or they don't resonate with that brand, right? So that's just a good example of it. But it can definitely be done with a bike shop of any size as well. It just takes some intentional effort.
Yeah, we talk often about, making that About Us page, fine tuning that, putting pictures of your staff, what it would be like to work for you. And it doesn't always, it doesn't also, or just, it's not just for future employees, but it's also for your consumers as well.
Yeah.
But you have such a big team. They're spread out all over, Jeff. So how are you communicating with everyone? And do you have big meetings virtually, or, what's your role as far as your direct communication with the employees?
Yeah. So pre-COVID, we tried to fly people around more, depending on their role in the company. Our location, so I'm originally from Southern California, and that's where we opened up the first shop. And then I'm sure people have noticed already, but the reason we're in Nevada and Pennsylvania is because we're next door neighbors with QVP, so we can ship things out quicker because we want to be close to the distribution network. That's not uncommon for any e-com business, to be close to their distributors, and everyone knows QVP that's listening, very likely. So yeah, that's why we're there. And so, yeah, I mean, we definitely try to do, we put a lot of effort into moving staff around between the shops to get to know each other. We do various things internally to get people to learn who they are. And then it is compartmentalized, right? I mean, the customer support team, those are the people that are working with each other all day. The logistics team are talking to each other all day. So we're still working on that. It's that dynamic has changed a lot because of COVID, right? I mean, pre-COVID, we were able to have people just travel more, and that was really convenient. Now, obviously, that's not really possible. So we're doing different things. Like we're just recently starting to do this thing called a connected session. Actually, a friend of mine puts it on, and he's been doing it with various other companies and a ton of different industries, where he kind of hosts this Zoom call, and they usually do it per department, right? So like our media department just did one, and our customer support team has one coming up. So it's a Zoom call with, a whole number of people, and there's various things that are, it's hard to say. I mean, it's various things that help you become more connected to your coworkers in a virtual environment. So it's just like tailored questions that people get to answer, and a way for people to get to know each other in a different manner. So we're still like working on all of those things. And that is hard. I mean, there's always going to be a level of friction there when you have people that work with each other that are in different environments all the time. So I can't say we're experts on that one just yet, but we're working at it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, it's such a thing for listeners who do have staff that are, coming to a single location often. It's important not just to focus on what we do as far as business practices and sales tips, but to focus on building this sense of trust and appreciating each person's unique self and building up a team and making sure your door is open for people who want to bring you ideas, and
Yeah.
cultivate a long-term career with you. And it
Yeah.
sounds like
So
you're doing that, Jeff.
yeah, we're trying. So yeah, what you just described is kind of like the definition of psychological safety, right? That's like a really big buzzword right now in the business world, because that's what everyone sort of desires, is the psychological safety in their work environment. They want to feel like the people they're around and work for and work with, they feel like they can trust them and they know them and they equally know each other. And there's just a level of trust and good, proper, healthy communication there, that makes them feel comfortable going there day in and day out. And like what you just described is that, and that's what we're always trying to cultivate that, internally, because we do want people to really feel comfortable and safe and trusted and happy in their work environment. And that's a never ending target. You're always working at that.
Jeff, I feel like you want them fit too, because I'm on your website and you have this program, and I don't know if you created this, but I want to know. It's called Miles for NICA. And from what I saw online, it's that for every mile that your employees pedal, you're donating to NICA, correct? I feel like tell us about this, because I want more shops to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We came up with that idea. So we started supporting NICA pretty heavily. Well, we've always supported NICA, just not super heavily, but we sponsored one race, a few years back, and had so much fun there and really saw so much value in what they were doing. And then last year, we kind of flipped the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing on its head, because it just seemed like a good year to just not do a sale, but to do a more of a fundraiser. So that's what we did. So we actually raised prices on everything on our website by $5, and then everything that sold, we donated. We donated $10 per order, or per item actually, to NICA. We ended up raising almost $14,000 for NICA. So that was really cool. And then
I love that. So you didn't discount, you actually
correct.
raised prices and donated. Thank you, Jeff. That's amazing.
So yeah, that was a fun project, and we really enjoyed that. And we were also just really impressed by our support from our audience and customers on how much they enjoyed that too. And we were also wildly impressed at how many people didn't know who NICA was. I think we ran a poll on Instagram and got 16,000 votes, and 63% of them didn't know who NICA was. So there's still a pretty big faction of mountain bikers that just don't even know what NICA is. And I mean, if you don't have kids and you're not in the industry, I don't really know why you would know about it. But so it was really cool to just get more eyeballs on it and raise a bunch of money for NICA. And then, yeah, earlier this year, we were thinking of other various ways we could support NICA, and then other ways we could incentivize our own staff to ride bikes more. So that's kind of where the staff miles for NICA thing came up with. And so what we do, so ours, like I'll just read them off right here. So we donate. So it's an internal Strava group of our own staff. It's a private Strava group, so we can track it. Yes, it's on the honor system, but again, it's your own staff. So if you're worried about people lying on Strava and your own staff, you have bigger problems. So basically, it's our internal private Strava group for our staff. We'll donate $1 to NICA for every mile ridden, miles 1 to 100. 50 cents for every mile ridden for miles 101, 999, and then 25 cents for every mile ridden 1,000 plus. And we make the donation. We tally everything up each quarter. And this is all new. So we just finished Q1. So Q1, the staff rode 6,163 miles, and we donated 3,899. So that's what we just did for Q1. And then, yeah, so we'll tally it up again for Q2. And it's been really fun, because it literally allows every one of our staff to hop on their bike and be like, I'm donating to NICA just to ride my bike. So yeah, it's been a cool thing to do, and yeah, just really fun. And we of course told NICA about it, and they well, actually, I don't even know if we'd mentioned it to NICA. We just sent that donation in, and I was like, oh, I'll just tell them later. I'll get around to sending them an email. But then they noticed the donation, and they're like, oh my God, what is this? This is awesome. I thought it was a cool and fun idea to incentivize our staff to ride more and just like feel purposeful when they're riding, like they're just riding. It's ironically enough, some of our staff started riding road and gravel more just so they could pump out more miles than they could on the mountain bike, which I was like, I'm all for it. That's the whole
There's
point
so
of this.
many good things about this program. Not only do you get more engaged, like more happier staff members, right? Because we all know when we're riding our bikes, we're more engaged, our brains are thinking better, we're happier, but you're donating to NICA, you're doing a tremendous thing. It's right on your website, worldwidecyclery.com. It's in the bottom left-hand for our listeners who are looking to learn more about what they're doing. I challenge everyone to think creatively and do something, unique and at their own environment to encourage their staff to get out and ride. And what a great way to give back to NICA. But touching on the Instagram poll you did and how, many people don't even know NICA exists, it makes me think we only know what we know, right? Like, another nugget there for our listeners is we have to keep remembering that it's up to us to educate, engage, and create cyclists and share what we know. Many cyclists, many future cyclists, typically our old customer would come into the shop because they were a cyclist or their friend was. And now we're having these new people come into shops who have no idea about cycling. They just know that they want to ride a bike because everyone's talking about it or they read an article about it. So it's up to us to really educate them and teach them because they don't know. So this is a great thing. Jeff, you're doing an amazing thing here. Okay, so back to ecom, your shop's really setting a new retail, new concept, a new way of thinking. You're setting the bar super high. Any tips for listeners who maybe want to try to expand their online presence?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's something you got to do. Having a sort of multi-channel business, if you're already brick and mortar, be online as well is just a valuable thing to do for your customer base. I would say the thing to do is to go slow, walk before you run, be intentional with it, sort of know what you want to offer on there, and also just know what you're getting into. Don't dabble. I think that's where you can shoot yourself in the foot, is if you just like pop up a site and orders may or may not roll in and emails might come in and things may or may not ship out because you lost which orders were fulfilled and which ones weren't. I mean, it's a whole different business, right? In the sense that you got to really focus on it and be intentional with it. So if you're going to do it, there needs to be someone who's very invested in making sure it's maintained and looking good and the product descriptions are correct and the pricing is correct, because that's a very important thing these days with all the brands that have MAP policies when it comes to pricing. And then just making sure that you have yourself properly set up to succeed, because if you go into it with someone dedicated to it that knows like, hey, we're getting an email volume where we need another customer support person to help, this person emails it, oh, I've just placed this, but I need to cancel my order. Oh, can you ship this to here and this to there? What fits this? There's a lot of questions. And I mean, it's a whole complicated ball game to do it. So just go into it cautiously and slowly and make sure you know what you're getting into, because that's what's going to set you up for success. It's just being realistic on the expectations of sort of knowing how much it entails, because it entails a lot to do it right. Like you can't just go on there and not allow people to email you or not allow people to call you. I mean, you need to offer the right, avenues for people to contact you and, all of that sort of stuff, manage that side of the e-commerce business. So I think that's kind of what I would offer there.
So think it through. Don't go in, willy-nilly. Definitely invest yourself, get a team together and have a strategy and plan for long-term. And what you said about making sure with your suppliers and vendors that you're following their pricing policy and what you can ship out. There's so many little pieces to touch on that are important here.
Yeah. And that's why it's good, I think, just like walk before you run, I mean, and that means that if you're using something like smart e-tailing, or you have an opportunity to put a lot of products up there, be careful. Just put some products up there slowly add more and learn the business, and be cautious with it. And just make sure, it really is that whole walk before you run type of thing, because it can get overwhelming pretty quick. And if it gets overwhelming and your customer experience deteriorates, then it's probably never going to work and never go anywhere and end up just being a headache for you. So that whole walk before you run mentality, I think, is a pretty important one when it comes to the e-commerce business.
We get lots of individuals who are looking to get into the bike business now. This past year, they're seeing it to be, oh, it must be lucrative. I should start an online store. I should start a brick and mortar location. And I know I actually recently gave you an individual, I pointed someone your way. Thank you for helping. Any insights or tips for someone who's thinking about getting into our industry?
Well, I'll give you the honest answer, which you may not like. I don't really think it's that great of an industry. I think that the margins are consistently getting squeezed. I think brands are selling more consumer direct constantly. And I think being a retailer in general in the bicycle industry, brick and mortar and or online, it's becoming a worse and worse business to be in as the years go on. You probably hate me for saying that, so sorry, but
no.
that's just how I feel. I think the financially, it's just more and more of a challenge to figure out how to properly make money. It's becoming much more like the restaurant industry, where it's just, it's becoming more of that. Yeah, best way to make $1 million is to start with 2 million. It's becoming more of that as the years go on, and we see that ourselves. And we actually recently, about a year and a half ago, bought the apparel brand Kettle Mountain from QBP, because QBP had run like a high-end mountain bike apparel brand, and they're like, oh, we're not going to do this anymore because it didn't work out for us, and we'd have to take it consumer direct. We're not going to do that, so we're just going to shut it down. And we said, well, can we take it? So we're diversifying and putting a lot more of our intentional focus into actually building an outdoor adventure apparel brand that is going to be consumer direct, because we just see that as a larger industry that has healthier margins and more control vertically, because you're controlling your supply chain more so, and you're controlling your retail price, and you're controlling your costs a lot better. Whereas the retail in the bicycle world, you really can't control your retail price, and you can't control your cost, and they're just getting squeezed constantly. And I just think it's a tough business. All businesses are tough, but I think it's becoming increasingly harder than it used to be to actually eke out a profit on the bottom line each month as a bicycle retailer. So I would just heed caution on that one to anybody, and to actually do some serious financial research and understanding the types of margins you're looking at and what your margins look like versus your operating expenses, and understand, this business model like any other business model. But I think it's a tough one, and I think it's getting more and more challenging to stay profitable in it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty. And this is a conversation that we have, in our P2 groups at the MBDA. And, often that we are in a business where the margins are, not great, and our operating expenses are there, and our staffing expenses are there. And right now we have to look at every single piece, and we might be able to make a couple percent, so it's really a hard industry, and I appreciate your honesty. And, if you're looking to get into it, like you said, work with a professional or have someone really help you look at the numbers to make sure it makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to have to lighten things up a little bit now.
Yeah, sorry. I know that's kind of like a slightly pessimistic mentality on it, but I don't know. I would just way rather be honest on the topic than I couldn't tell a lie on that one. So.
No, I mean, it's evident, we're all working so hard, right, to keep these new cyclists engaged, to better our content offering to our customers. We're trying to get every little bit, like what you said, you're expanding into something new now with adventure gear. Like, you're just definitely pivoting as we move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about this Ask Jeff Anything. You have a YouTube playlist?
We do. Yeah. So we're very active on YouTube and put a ton of content out there. That's where all of our videos go. And one of which came up by just popular demand was an Ask Jeff Anything video series. Because a lot of people, once I started presenting a lot of the videos in the early years, a lot of people wanted to just ask me direct questions, whether it was bicycle industry questions or technical bicycle questions. They just wanted my opinion on things, and they were just curious, because I do get I'm a rare character. I'm 31 and I've been running a bike shop for 10 years, which is kind of an odd age to be doing that. So and I also am a very outspoken goofball on the internet. So a lot of people watch YouTube videos and they're like, how is this dude running a business? He's seemingly out of his mind, So we mix in a lot of comedic, goofy stuff in our channel. So yeah, people were just kind of curious to ask me various random questions, and that's what we started. So we do it. I mean, I try to do it every 4 to 6 weeks, but we'll put out, what questions you have. and we sift through. I mean, we usually get about close to 2,000 to 3,000 questions each time, and then I try to sift through down to like my favorite 20 or so, and then I answer those in a YouTube video. And yeah, you usually have a whiskey or something as I sip on while I answer the questions. But it's been pretty fun. So that's become a playlist on there, and yeah, it's a good. I mean, I personally like answering the business questions more, because all like the technical bike nerd stuff, I don't know, I talk about it too often. I like answering more business related questions, or ones that I just think are funny. So I usually pick those. But yeah, so that is a playlist on our YouTube channel, and a video we try to put out every 4 to 6 weeks, which is pretty fun. And yeah, I usually try to do bike industry stuff. I mean, I'm talking to the consumers, right? I mean, and that's who we're making videos for, is just kind of those average mountain bikers out there that are either getting into the sport or have been into the sport and love the sport and just ride mountain bikes. So yeah, that's kind of the majority of the questions that come in there, and sort of how I answer them as if I'm speaking to that audience, because that's who watches our YouTube channel.
This is definitely doing the bicycle industry like it's never been done. You're putting yourself front and center in the hot seat as the owner, and people love to buy from people that they know and that they trust. Yeah. And by accepting these thousands of questions and sipping a whiskey with making yourself real and being just very out there and approachable, it's definitely setting the bar really high. And you're a great role model in that regard. I challenge our listeners, or any bike shop owner, why not just put yourself there and talk about why you started the shop, or let people throw you any questions. You don't have to, even if you're not good at thinking on your own, just let people ask you the questions, right? So I'm going to have to watch, and I'm going to submit some questions for the next one, Jeff.
Cool. Yeah, no, it has been fun. I mean, I'm definitely just a huge proponent that businesses need to be sort of more personal, especially a small business, because realistically, we have small business. A lot of people listening have small business. One of our only advantages as a small business owner is to really connect with your community and your audience and your niche, and be yourself and show them that. The CEOs of larger companies are not doing that, and they're not interested in that, and they probably can't, and they have PR reasons, and they have like legal reasons, and they have to read from a script. And it's like, no, we're in the bike industry. Like, you can just get on YouTube or Instagram Live and drink a beer and answer random questions, and like, it's fine. I mean, that's why you're in a lifestyle industry, and we're not selling insurance or, selling stocks. Like, we're in the bike industry because it's fun and casual, and we enjoy that lifestyle. So I'm definitely a fan of, I want customers to know, who I am as the owner, who our staff is. I mean, that's something I think it's one of our advantages to really show off, because realistically, especially in the bicycle retail world as well, we kind of sell commodities. I mean, everything we sell, everyone else can sell too, right? So what makes us any different? So, that is, well, the only thing that is different is like every individual is actually unique. So if you can express that and people resonate with that, that's one of like the advantages that I think everyone should be taking control of, since as a business, that's, there's already a lot of product out there. No matter what you do, you probably got a really fierce competitor, but they're not you and you're not them. So that's one of the things everyone has that's unique to them. They should leverage.
Yeah, now I got goosebumps. Thanks, Jeff. You're pretty cool. All right, so we just launched a redesign of our America's Best Bike Shop program. It's called the Bicycle Retailer Excellence Awards. And new this year, we're bringing in a part where bicycle shop owners such as yourself can engage your community, and people can actually vote for your shop. And there's different sections. So there's online, mobile, bike shop with cafe, pretty cool. But nice. I'm trying, I end all my podcasts by asking the guests, if I, put the term out there, bicycle retail excellence, what does that mean to you? And I'd like to get your thoughts. What does that mean? Excellence in bicycle retail? Yeah,
I mean, I would say we're trying our best to do that through the various ways I've told most all of them on this podcast in the last hour. But yeah, to me, I think it does mean, I think it means customer centric. I think it means modern. I think there's a lot of great bike shops out there that are well-intentioned, but they're still a bit behind the times when it comes to their technology, and the way they communicate with customers is maybe a little dated. So yeah, I think it's customer centric. I think it's attention to detail. I think it's making sure you're staying modern. and also making sure you're doing your best to like bring true value to the industry in various different ways, whether that's educational content or giving back or like really supporting your community in a unique way. Transparency. I mean, I think all of those things will really help, because at the end of the day, anybody, wherever they are on their path of, being a cyclist for 20 years or just getting into the sport, if they go into a shop and they feel respected and treated well, and like the people there want to be friends with them and like they want to be friends with them, that's going to make them want to continue riding bikes and realize that like, wow, this is not just an industry and it's not just a thing with two wheels, but this is kind of a lifestyle, and the people that are in it smile a lot and they're nice to me, and I want to be hanging out with those people and riding bikes with those people. And like, if we can get our industry to sort of as a whole have that brand of like, hey, people who ride bikes are fun, people who ride bikes are nice, respectful, cool people that have a good time and enjoy the outdoors in a healthy, fun manner. I think if like the cycling industry in general can sort of push that and let people know that, I think we would have, a way better odds of more people joining the industry. And so I think that's cool. But it turns out also you could just have a pandemic and that makes more people ride bikes too. So who knew?
I love your description of excellence in bicycle retailer. And it means that we're getting more people into our sport, more people into our work environments, and just embracing this culture and helping people along in their cycling journey. And which, who knows, like I went to culinary school and here I am because I found cycling. So nice. You never know, right? Jeff, you are just an amazing human. And I want to apologize for the way we met, but I also am so excited that you ended up on the podcast tonight. Thank you for changing our industry for the better. You're definitely setting the bar and setting the standard. And thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for all the kind words. You're making me blush.
So will you share your contact information if anyone has any questions, or just what do you think? Head to your website or? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I usually steer people to just send me a direct message on Instagram, just at Jeff Cayley, JEFFCAYLEY. You're also welcome to email me, jeff.cayley@worldwidecyclery.com. I mean, I'm always happy to help out in that sense. And I'm sure everyone listening to this is, good and respectful of that, and they're not going to spam me. So I'm not worried about it.
We will not, but I'm going to give you some questions for your next episode.
Yeah, cool. It sounds good.
Jeff, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. Appreciate it.
All right, so that is it. I invite you to connect with me and come on Bicycle Retail Radio. Share your story with our listeners. If you'd like to support the show, don't forget to subscribe and share your favorite episode with friends and on social media. We'll be sharing Jeff's episode out on our channels as well. Thank you for listening. See you back here soon. And with this, we go. Peace. Thanks, Jeff. I jumped all over. I don't know. Sorry, I didn't follow my script. I always plan a lot and then I just kind of go with it.
I know that's what happens to me too, which is why I don't plan as thoroughly as you. I just toss in like some random bullet points and then just see what happens.
Yeah, because we covered some stuff and then I was like, I'm not going to repeat that. So I really appreciate you. I hope that retailers, listen and engage and take some of this, because we need this in our industry moving forward. It's so important. And I won't lie to you, two men in my life were like, you have to check out this worldwide. And I'm like, what? I was like, so you're doing amazing stuff. And if you ever need anything, please let me know at all.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you. And likewise, no, it was great being on, and yeah, always happy to help out. I mean, I think what you're doing with MBDA is awesome. So it's really cool to see you continue to do that. And I love it because it's whenever I go to QBP, they're always talking about how much they enjoy and respect NBDA, and like how you guys are really helping the industry like evolve and make shops better, which obviously QBP likes because they're incentivized by that, but they do the same thing themselves with Frostbike and everything too, right? And all their education. So yeah,
I've been meeting with them every week, Jeff. I'm like, we have some good things on the horizon. So nice. I urge you and beg you, if you have any ideas, shoot me an email. If you see anything I could do better, let me know, because I only know what I know. And it's great to have people who are, just taking another look at it. So if you have any ideas for me, I love all feedback. So please throw it out there.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, have a nice night. Go ride bikes or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do, actually.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so
All
much.
right. See you, Heather. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.